All right, cool. Today I want to talk to you about a problem that I solved for my sister. My sister, she does work with a nonprofit called Rachel's Table here in Western Massachusetts. And what they do, I haven't actually explored this, but what they do is they go out to all the grocery stores and they pick up the surplus food, all of the food that's near expiration, and then they go and deliver it to different places. I think like food banks and things like that. Checking to see, they do all sorts of stuff actually. This is a very cool nonprofit that's focused on getting food to the people that need it. Let's see. I know that they pick food up from like grocery stores, but then they even go out, and I never heard of this term before, but it's called gleaning, where they go out to farms, local farms, and here you go, here's a picture of them gleaning. They pick all the food that the farmers left behind, and they basically make sure that it gets into the hands of the people that use it. So over here, let's see, I saw that they had, I think it said 200. Where is it? Well, it was over 200 volunteers, I think is what I saw. But in general, when my sister would work, she would actually drive a truck and she'd be given a list of all the different grocery stores that she needed to go to. And then there was usually like a final place where she had to deliver it. But my sister would sit there with her iPhone and this list, and she'd be putting the locations into Google Maps, and then she'd be moving them up and down in terms of trying to figure out what order was the best place to do it. And I thought, wow, this is kind of like a perfect little tool that you could build with AI. Originally, I did it with Replit, but then I heard that that if you're doing apps that use Google things like Google Maps, it makes sense to try and build it in Gemini. Basically, because it's in the Google environment, so things just kind of work a little bit better. And so that's what I did. I built a tool specifically for her, and I'll show you how it works. Building it was, I got, I'm going back a little bit, but I was able to get 80% there very quickly, right? But then I ran into issues with with the addresses not working perfectly. Basically, what was happening is when I would type in a starting location, it might be, 123 Main Street, and what it was doing is it was dropping the pin in the right place, but then it would, in terms of the map itself and for the directions, it would say something just like United States. And I learned that this is like a parsing or kernel error or something like that. But every time I like rebuilt the app, that issue would appear. But I actually learned a little bit about coding, and I was able to help it solve that problem more quickly when it showed up. So here is the completed app, and we can just give it an example. I'm not going to put my home address in, but let's just say that we say 54. This is not my address, it's just a random one that I found. So that starting location showed up right there. And let's say there's the big Y. Big Y. There we go. Mohawk Trail. We'll add that stop. Then we'll add in Food City and Turner's. These are different grocery stores kind of near me. We'll do Stop and Shop here. We'll do Stop and Shop in Hadley. We'll do Whole Foods in Hadley. And then we'll do, and so you can see, let's see, I'm using there's these different locations there. And then we'll also do this place called Muffins in Whately. And then the final destination, let's just do Food Bank, Western Mass. I don't actually know. Yeah, we'll do this one that's in Northampton. Cool. So here's my start place. Here's all the different spots that I put in. You can see they're kind of all over the place on the map here. And so the thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to calculate the route. Right? And so when I calculated the route, it moved them all around and created sort of like the perfect route for you to go to actually pick up the stuff. So starting here, 1, 2, 3, right? And all the way down into the other places. Now, just for reference there, I did Google this before, and I did find another tool, route optimization. And let's see, the one that I found was this one. It was a MapQuest tool. And it was pretty much the same thing. And the way that this monetizes is obviously just by these ads being on here. And I'm not trying to monetize this at all, but it was the same thing. Initially, I did build in a CSV import function, which this tool actually has as well. But that didn't really matter for my sister because there was only so many locations that they were going, and it looks great on here, but when you were like, she was almost always doing it on mobile, and so it was easier like for her to just search for the grocery stores rather than trust that they were loading incorrectly. So going back to the app itself, so it not only like reroute set in the order, but then it also, gives turn-by-turn directions right here in the app. And then the last piece is that you can actually just open it in Google Maps. And so here it is. It pre-fills with all of the spots as the different stops, just as if you were, adding them yourselves. And like I said, she was just putting them in and then dragging them up and down to try and find a route that made sense. When you do this on mobile, the really cool thing is when you do this on mobile, it does actually open the Google Maps app if you're using it. And you can just hit go and it works just as if you were using Google Maps. The one thing that I have not tried to do yet, which I might try and add, and I don't want to do it right now because I don't want to mess up the app as it is, because I think they're actually using it today, is adding in like an Apple Maps button. So that way, if that's your preferred mapping tool, you could open it up that way as well. And I found in general so far, I'm very new to building these tools in AI. I found that building little tools like this is actually really easy though. It allows tools like this where people aren't logging in and they're not saving data. Like I know that you can do that with things like Firebase and Supabase, and I'm working on learning how to build more complex apps, but I'm also having a lot of fun building these little types of tools. For those complex apps, I haven't done it yet, but I have spun up sort of my first Firebase, and we'll talk about this in another video. And I've been using Claude. I just started using Claude Code and Claude More to kind of figure it out. So I'm not going to get too much into this app, but just to show you, like I'm using Claude to talk to about how to use Claude Code as I'm trying to learn how to do it. Because Claude Code actually runs, where is it? Claude Code runs on your terminal, and it looks very much like, programming when you're doing it. So I'm excited to be learning this and exploring it further. But for today, like I made that route optimization tool, which is pretty much perfect. Awesome.